It is said that there are two universal truths, those being death and taxes. I, as a practicing nihilist, offer another one. People will be fudge tubes. Not all people, but most. They will cause other people all manner of problems and peril as they push forward with making sure their needs are catered for. But that's enough about the police. Criminals are bad too. And you'll be dealing with the problematic plebs as a member of America's Popo in this here title, World's Scariest Police Chases. It's not just a TV licence this, but a bit of an odd one too, as it's based on a TV show farmed from grainy dashcam footage. It's like having a video game based on like a 1990s episode of You've Been Framed, which, come to think of it, they should do complete with a Harry Hill voiceover. I've not actually figured out how that will work, but as long as there's a wedding cake falling over, a baby does something ridiculous and a dog exhibits human-like expressions in segments, I'm sure we'll all be happy. Maybe like a WarioWare game or something. I don't know, someone figure something out. But as ever, I digress. This here licence, what be dat den? Well, it's an odd one, as the title of the show does not actually match that of the game, as the television show was actually called World's Wildest Police Videos. I would imagine the name wasn't kept, probably because the show featured like helicopter and body cam shots rather than just car chases, and offered a broad range of criminal chicanery. Footage wasn't taken just from the US, but from police services from around the world, as folk look to escape the long arm of the law. It was presented by a former lawman, that being Oregon Sheriff John Burnell, who talks in a weirdly sincere way. The format was simple. John would introduce a real-life escape, giving you background on what has caused Joe Public to act like a lawless gibbon, and then he'll give you, the viewer, updates on what they're seeing via the footage compiled from various security, helicopter and dash cameras. Without John, it might seem a bit confusing, so thanks John. The show was a huge hit, becoming syndicated in its native country and lasting for 4 or 5 years before coming back again in 2012. And it was exported to over 20 countries, including the UK, for the people of the world to gawp at. It's a show that has been imitated many, many times over the years with various cop shows, pursuing criminals and what have you, and there's a fair chance you all know someone who's been at the wrong end of the law on one of these shows. I know someone. Hello, Ian Davidson, aka the Meteor Mondeo Man. Despite being a show featuring reckless driving and high-speed collisions, World's Wildest Police Videos doesn't seem to be the perfect concept on which to base a game on. Narratively, how can you chain a load of collated videos from various misdemeanors together and make a coherent game story? That was the challenge laid down to publishers Activision and, moreover, Swedish coders Unique Development Studios AB. Unique Developments had previously made titles based on Hot Wheels and No Fear mountain bikes, and would later go on to make games based on Futurama and Asterix. PC, Dreamcast and PlayStation 2 versions were planned but never appeared, as was a sequel. The way that Unique Developments worked their way around this lack of storyline in the TV show was that they would place all of the chases in the capable hands of a pair of rookie officers that are completely unnamed, and their very eventful first few months in the fictional city of Ashland. You'll start off in training, which will teach you all the basics of police work. Weirdly, it's the basics of how to crash into the back of criminal cars and shoot the boots off of the escapees, as opposed to, dealing with the public, completing witness statements and telling a load of teenagers who are drinking White Lightning next to a shop to go somewhere else. It turns out, though, that all the crimes in Ashland are pretty vehicularly based, which probably explains why the only person walking around the streets is a guy who looks a bit like the fella from Flashback, and he seems to be completely on his own. So yes, the training is remarkably on point, as chasing hoodlums is what you'll be doing, for the most part. There is a bit more to it than that, as the game is given a shot of healthy variety in the form of missions where you have to tail a perpetrator like the creepy stalker that you are, and missions that put you in the role of the hunted rather than the hunter, as criminals look to put a cap in your ass or some such. And also there's another one which has you hunting down the machinations of a crazed bombman who has put bombs everywhere because he's a bombman. How does this tie into the TV show? Well, not a lot. All of that rests on the manly shoulders of Mr. John Bonnell, who adds his unique form of cop chase gravitas to proceedings at the beginning and end of each pursuit.
Pushed to the extreme limit of law enforcement, these fearless officers finally subdue their nemesis, using a combination of skill, brute force, and speed.
Has John Bonnell ever commented over footage of a pair of rookie cops given a APC to chase down a crazed tank? Probably not, but in this game, he finally has. That's it. You can retire now. I think he's already retired. He's like 80-something. How does it play? Well, we're looking at a perfectly playable but decidedly low-rent version of GT Interactive's Driver. Much of the game is similar to that all-time classic and its sequel, but Driver does it just that much better. Here is a case in point. The meat of the game is, of course, you, as a police officer, crashing into the back of a perpetrator Chase HQ style. This is fine, but it's extremely unbalanced gameplay. Any slight collision you make with, say, lamppost poles, or the scenery, or other cars, damages your patrol car or pizza van. This is fine, however, your opponent is not governed by the same rules. Only damage sustained by crashing into you will see it take damage. If they crash heavily into a tree or a bystander's car, they will sustain no damage at all. This makes certain situations of gameplay impossible because you won't have enough health to crash into their car, so you'll have to make sure you're perfect and don't crash on your way to them. This is less of a factor as you move on to the later levels with more dangerous villains, strangely enough. You see, your headquarters will only authorise use of your standard issue handgun and machine gun against the nastier, twattier aspects of the Wrong'un fraternity. You can't pull a pistol on a DUI suspect, but you can on an Uzi welding drug baron. With the gun, obviously, you will not have to use your fragile motor as a weapon as much, and therefore you're less likely to sustain heavy damage. Sure, the bullets from your opponents will cause you damage, but it's not as bad as the damage sustained from running into a low wall. The gun controls, by the way, are absolutely fine. You just adjust the reticule in slight little taps and movements to line it up with the car, so you don't worry about having to try and drive and shoot. That works quite well, so well done to the team there. The maps for your exploits are fairly small, but they're focused on a particular cause. Your opponent won't think on the fly, but instead they'll have a set path of destruction and will correct themselves should you bash them out of that path. This means that it's a game that rewards multiple plays more than perhaps skill, which for me I didn't really like. Another issue is there's a set timer for attending crimes, a bit like real life I suppose, which sometimes can lead to frustration when you get to the incident, but because you're a second out, your fail state kicks in and your policeman laments to the communications officer that there's no sign of the perpetrator. Look at the map, they're right bloody there. Quite frankly, sloppy police work. Ultimately, the flaws do get more and more glaring as you go through, and while it's playable, it's no Driver. I think more should have been done with the licence. Keep the Chase HQ gameplay, but build a strategy element into it. Utilise different police cars that are based around the city to try and bring down the runaway driver. Employ stingers, employ helicopters. There's a scope for something original that the PlayStation probably could do that's been spurned a little. There's unlockables and a free roaming arrest mode, but ultimately the whole package just feels rushed and a bit half-arsed. It looks like this game is going to be spending time at the local jail. Is that a good John Burnell? Probably not. IGN reviewed the game, but not my impression, in June 2001, and they said that gamers who still want decent PlayStation games won't be stunned with World's Scariest Police Chases, but they won't be sharply disappointed either. A 6 out of 10 from them. Edge reviewed it in August 2001 and they gave it a 7 out of 10. Though snooty, aloof Smartball said it's theoretically reprehensible joypad candy, the sort of entertainment that's easily ascribed to other people, brash, dim-witted, uncultured mass market, but that actually turns out to be surprisingly compelling when you experience it yourself. Ooh, Arca Edge again, being all smarmy. GameSpot, on the other hand, did not like it. The idea of taking this America's Funniest Home Videos on PCP style TV show and basing a game around it is bizarre. And kudos to the developers for even having the nerve to try. However, this doesn't excuse this ugly, boring game, nor does it mean you should play it. 3.6 out of 10 from them in August 2001. Oh dear. Next up, more whimsical stuff as we look at Doug on the Game Boy Color. Like, subscribe, and Kate, thanks, bye.